Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning. We're getting started a little late. We had a little event here today. Um, well, we're here for one reason, and one reason only. By the way, I'm Congressman Mark Takano, the ranking member of the ranking Democratic member of the House Veterans Affairs Committee. And let me just say, we are here for one reason and one reason only. The Trump administration and Secretary Collins have decided that veterans who are about to lose their homes don't deserve help. I wish that wasn't the case, but what other conclusion can we draw when Trump's VA decided to abruptly end the Veteran Assistance Service Purchasing Program, otherwise known as VASP, on May 1st, an action that gave veterans no time to enroll before the program was closed. Let's be clear what that means. Over 80,000 veterans are now facing foreclosure. That is not hyperbole. 4,700 veterans in my state of California, over 2,000 veterans in Chairman Mike Boss' state of Illinois, nearly 700 veterans in Chairman Derek Van Orden's state of Wisconsin. This is very real for every state in the country, but this White House and VA don't seem to care. VASP was the program of last resort. That program no longer exists. Now veterans can either refinance into mortgage rates as high as 6 or 7% in the Trump economy, sell their home, or be foreclosed on. Lenders estimate that more than 60,000 of those 80,000 veterans will be foreclosed on. Even the rosiest estimates from the Trump and Collins VA estimate thousands of veterans losing their homes. Now, it did not have to be this way. Under President Biden, VA took proactive measures to avoid literally hundreds of thousands of veteran foreclosures. These same authorities still exist, but President Trump and Secretary Collins are choosing to allow veterans to be foreclosed upon rather than help them. Cruel. That's the only word for it, cruel. Earlier this month, we heard from a Vietnam-era veteran from Utah whose lender tried to submit a VASP application to the VA program. They were told the program was already closed. This veteran took the secretary at his word that he had until May 1st, only to learn May 1st was not the real deadline. He never had a chance. We heard from a disabled veteran in Iowa who started the process with their lender to enroll in VASP as early as April 17. Tragically, they also learned that VA had closed on applications earlier than stated. I don't use the names of these veterans because they, like many veterans, fear retribution from VA if they speak out. So I ask you, will these veterans' suffering be justified by the American taxpayer? The answer is no. Perhaps most ironically, this will actually cost VA money. The VA Home Loan Program is the loan guarantee program, and they guarantee lenders are made whole when a veteran loses their home. It's the taxpayers that pay that guarantee. It costs VA and every one of us an estimated $60,000 every time a veteran is foreclosed on. Foreclosure is the most expensive course of action. To not do so is cruel. To not do so is bad policy. To not do so is wrong. Not one reputable group, not veteran service organizations, not housing advocates, not even lenders are asking for this. But this is what the Trump White House and VA mean for veterans. And Republicans in Congress are cheering them on. Chairman Bost and Derek Van Orden reacted with glee at the ending of the VASP program. And every Republican on our committee, when given a chance to bring VASP back, voted against reinstating this aid. We need to reinstate VASP and commit to a foreclosure moratorium. This is a crisis, a manufactured crisis to hurt veterans without reason. I say shame on Secretary Collins, shame on President Trump. Veterans deserve better, but this White House doesn't seem to care. Actually, doesn't care. It's not that it doesn't seem to care, they don't care. I would now like to turn it over the podium to my colleague, the ranking member of the Economic Opportunity Subcommittee of the Veterans Affairs Committee, my good friend from the state of New Hampshire, Representative Chris Pappas.
Thanks very much, Ranking Member Takano. I appreciate your leadership on this issue. I want to thank our advocates that are joining the conversation here today as well. This is a critical issue, and as the Ranking Member said, it's important to understand that 80,000 veterans have been put at risk by the abrupt ending of the VASP program. This program was put in place last year. It was created as a way to correct VA's own missteps that left homeowners with no affordable way to catch up on their VA-backed loans if they fell behind on their payments. So for thousands of veterans, it's been the only realistic option to be able to stay in their homes. Tens of thousands of veterans and their families are now at risk of foreclosure. And as a result, VA's own mistakes and this administration's decision to turn their backs on veterans are causing harm to folks that I represent in the state of New Hampshire. There's no question about that. I've heard from veterans directly that are deeply concerned about their future. One of my constituents, he's a 100% service-disabled veteran from the first Gulf War. He's been in forbearance on his loan, and he's getting ready to start making payments again. So he reached out to his lender because he heard about VASP. This is exactly the kind of scenario that this program was designed to create a solution for. So he was given misleading information from his lender that VASP was no longer taking applications. It was far in advance of the May 1st deadline that VA told Congress about. But then, despite him reaching back out, his lender told him that VA actually had told him to shut down the program earlier than that May 1st deadline, causing unacceptable confusion and preventing him from being able to get enrolled in VASP at a moment where he desperately needed that help. Now, our office is going to do everything we can to try to assist this gentleman, and I'm glad to see that our committee is working on a solution with respect to a partial claims program, but that's literally months down the road in terms of that being implemented in a way that can help veterans. So this isn't about statistics, it's not about hypothetical situations, it's about real people. It's about real veterans that swore an oath to give everything up to and including their lives for the United States of America, who deserve our unwavering commitment to be able to provide them with a roof over their head and to make sure that they won't get foreclosed on. So this shouldn't be a partisan issue. This is a moral issue, and it's something that we'll continue to call VA on to address and to make sure that they're providing the kind of support that our veterans need. So whether that's in the form of a foreclosure moratorium or re-implementing VASP while we work on this partial claims program, we need a solution today so that veterans like Daniel in my district get the help and support that they deserve. We have been making progress over the last many years with respect to veteran homelessness. And at a time where we know that we face a housing crunch all across the country, it's critically important that there are resources available and a last resort option available to veterans that are worried about losing their home. That's exactly what VASP did. Its abrupt ending does a disservice to those that have done everything for the United States of America. We need to be stepping up for our veteran community, supporting veterans and military families, and we'll continue to raise a lot of noise on this issue because this is just a central issue to how people live and to the ability of veterans to be able to have stable, secure housing opportunities. So with that, I want to turn things over to our next speaker, Alice Cohen, who's a senior attorney from the National Consumer Law Center. Good to see you.
Thank you to Representative Takano and the House members working to help veterans avoid foreclosure like Mr. Pappas. I am Elise Cohen from the National Consumer Law Center, a nonprofit that has worked for consumer justice and economic security for over 50 years. I am also the proud daughter of an Air Force veteran. The administration's abrupt cancellation of the VASP Mortgage Assistance Program for veteran borrowers in need puts tens of thousands of veteran families with VA home loans at risk of losing their homes. The VA Home Loan Program is a benefit that veterans have earned through service and sacrifice. It is meant to give them housing stability. And this was done at a time when VA foreclosures are at a 5-year high. Everyone agrees, industry, elected officials, veterans groups, that veterans who secured a VA loan as a benefit for serving deserve access to options to avoid foreclosure when they face financial hardship. The termination of VASP results in veteran borrowers having substantially worse options than other borrowers with federally backed mortgage loans. As a result, and let us be clear, veterans with VA mortgages will face preventable foreclosures. The end of VASP leaves more than 58,000 veterans and their families vulnerable to foreclosure. Financial hardship happens to everyone, and it's a bedrock principle of federal housing policy that borrowers with a financial hardship should be able to bring their loans current and avoid foreclosure if they can afford the new plan. It benefits the homeowner and also the taxpayers. Avoidable foreclosures result in unnecessary government losses to the taxpayer. News coverage from NPR included the story of one Iraq veteran who served 2 combat tours and came home with physical and psychological wounds that have needed substantial care. The VA loan program helped his family buy a home, and the hardship assistance could help them keep it, but only if it remains available. Fox News coverage in Louisiana included a vice commander of the American Legion of Louisiana noting that cutting the program will take these benefits away from families that are already lacking financially. The same report included a retired Army colonel who supports veterans through a university program. He said that the end of VASP hurts not just the veteran, but also the family. Because VASP is a limited program, we are committed to working with Congress on establishing a new hardship program. But simply canceling VASP without a replacement will throw tens of thousands of veterans out of their homes, even though Congress and the administration could keep it and then add a new preferred program. We call on Congress and the VA to act now. The administration should immediately restore VASP. The VA should examine its authority and implement any additional programs it can right now to protect veterans' homes. And Congress should pass legislation quickly to restart a partial claim program for veterans facing hardship. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today.
Thank you, Elise. I'd now like to welcome Maureen Yap, Vice President of Public Policy and Senior Counsel for Fair Lending, National Fair Housing Alliance. Maureen.
Thank you, Congressman Takano and Congressman Pappas, and to the House Committee on Veterans Affairs for shining a light on housing for veterans. Our veterans were brave enough to serve and sacrifice for this country, but now this administration is trying to ram through cuts that will worsen the fair and affordable housing crisis. They will deny these veterans the American dream of safe and stable housing. Do you know how many of our veterans are at risk of foreclosure? Tens of thousands. And now the administration has thoughtlessly canceled the Veterans Affairs Servicing Purchase Program, which was the only option that helped veterans obtain an affordable payment. And the administration has not stopped there. In another devastating blow to housing for veterans, HUD canceled grants for local fair housing groups and seeks to make these cuts permanent in the new budget. As if that is not enough, the administration has also hollowed out the agencies, the DOJ, the CFPB, HUD, FHFA, that provide housing protections at the federal level. By rolling back federal as well as private protections, the administration desperately seeks to take us back to a time when the Fair Housing Act did not even exist. And what does this mean for our nation's veterans? Well, do you know how many of our veterans have disabilities? About 1/3 of our veterans have service-related disabilities. The fair housing cuts mean that these veterans will not be protected if their landlords or homeowners associations deny them a handicap parking space, a wheelchair ramp, or a service animal. Do you know how many of our veterans are Black or Latino? There are about 2 million Black veterans and 1.5 million Latino veterans in the United States. The fair housing cuts mean that these veterans will not be protected if they experience mortgage pricing discrimination, appraisal discrimination, or denial of rental housing. Do you know how many of our veterans are female? There are over 2 million female veterans in the United States. The fair housing cuts mean that these veterans will not be protected if the landlord requests sexual favors in exchange for rent, or if they are denied housing because they have children. And let's not forget our LGBTQ veterans. The fair housing cuts mean that these veterans can easily be turned away from safe, stable housing because of who they are or who they love. So today, let's make sure our voices are louder than those who want to destroy housing protections for veterans and those who want to destroy our communities, civil rights, and democracy. Let's make sure we do not leave anyone behind, especially our brave and honored veterans. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Maureen. I think just to sum up, Republicans back behind me in the Capitol focused on tax cuts for the wealthy, for the wealthiest Americans. The VA, under Secretary Collins and President Trump, are focused on foreclosing on our veterans. They're focused on the members of Congress, the Republican members of Congress, focused on removing and decreasing the ability to protect veterans from all sorts of housing discrimination. So anyway, let's open up for questions. No questions? Oh, we're going to close? All right. Well, thank you for joining us for today. Our veterans served and fought for us. We need to fight for them. We need to have their backs. We need to do what we can do. We need to do what we can to keep them in their homes. To understand the scale, consider this. There are 35,000 homeless veterans nationwide. We're talking about the fate of 80,000 loan holders. It's not too late for Secretary Collins to act, and I hope veterans, VSOs, and housing groups continue to call on him to do so. I call on my colleagues and on the other side of the aisle to join these efforts instead of celebrating the end of VASP. If you're a veteran, a VA employee, a family member, or someone concerned about the care and services our veterans receive, I encourage you to share your experiences and concerns. Your voice is crucial in shaping effective policy and ensuring accountability. Please be sure to fill out our latest survey that you can find on our House Veterans Affairs Committee Democrats website and social media. Please remember, cost savings don't matter when veterans pay the price. Thank you all for being here today.